And welcome back to the World Game. It seems Socceroo star Harry Kewell can't keep out of the news at the moment. While the fallout from his much publicised transfer to Liverpool continues to make headlines, there's now a real concern after he suffered a bad knock to his already damaged left ankle in a pre-season friendly match overnight, and the early signs are not good, according to Liverpool manager Gerard Houllier. The Anfield club now faces a nervous wait with its $12.5 million signing due to undergo medical tests later today. Now, to bring us up to date with all the latest on that story and the ongoing transfer saga, we're joined by Kewell's commercial manager, Bernie Mandic, who joins us on the line. Also, we have with us FIFA licensed player agent Chris Tanner, who's in our Canberra studio, and Craig Foster is back as well with us in the studio. So, Bernie, let's start with you. What can you tell us about Harry's injury?
Oh, look, it's nothing too dramatic, but there's actually a latest twist in the whole Liverpool Harry Kewell situation, which I'd like to reveal exclusively on SBS, and that is effective from yesterday. Harry's actually terminated his agreement with Liverpool, and as a result of the latest inquiry by the crime fighters of Lou Sticker and Chris Tanner. Basically, you know, their all-powerful Australian Licensed Players Association has gotten to a point where Harry and I have actually decided to leave England. We are now in Rio with all our ill-gotten gains, and we're told that we can't be extradited to face the kangaroo court of the Australian Licensed Players Association. I want all the kiddies out there to take the name of Mr. Lou Sticker and Mr. Tanner, because the Licensed Players Association is obviously a very, very powerful body that everyone should be fearful of in the future, because if you get investigated by them, you could, you know, God knows go where. I mean, they are not recognised by FIFA, they are not recognised by Soccer Australia, but they are very powerful, and I'm afraid that's what's happened.
Bernie, I'm just pinching myself to check that it's not April Fool's Day, so I'm going to ask you again, what made you terminate the contract with Liverpool? In fact, at the end of the day, with the investigation pending and so forth, what was it that made you and Harry decide to walk away from Anfield?
I told you, Chris Tanner and Lou Sticker. I mean, these guys obviously have taken the view that we have contravened all sorts of regulations, and Harry, facing this prospect of being 12 months out of football, just couldn't stand it any longer, and basically, hey, what can you say, guys? We're in Rio enjoying the sunshine, and I'm afraid that what we have to do is ask for forgiveness from Lou Sticker and Mr. Tanner, and, you know, that's life.
But is that because you thought they had a case? You in fact thought that if he stayed on at Liverpool, he could have been in serious trouble?
Guys, I'm obviously taking the mickey. I mean, that's how seriously we're actually regarding this whole thing with Mr. Tanner and company. I mean, that's the point. I mean, these guys have actually come out and come up with a load of nonsense. Harry's injury is nothing serious. It's something that will be sorted in the next week or so, and he'll be ready to start the season, from what I understand. But as I said, I thought that that's the sort of seriousness that this nonsense from Mr. Tanner and company should deserve, because it is an absolute bloody joke.
OK, Chris, let's go to you then. You've written to the English FA expressing your concern. Why do you think the negotiations involving Bernie Mandic may constitute a breach of FIFA rules?
Andrew, as mentioned before, I have no beef with Bernie, and I'm quite amused by his attempt at comedy. It's the middle of the night over there, so maybe he's a bit tired, but the facts are there. There is correspondence between Bernie and Leeds. Bernie has said himself that Leeds are guilty of dealing with an unlicensed agent. The Australian Licensed Player Agents Association and Lou Sticker had nothing to do with this. I was contacted by English agents who I'm in communication with. They were concerned about the situation. They had written to the English FA and asked me to write and pass on any information from the Australian side. I don't have a problem with unlicensed agents. They're part of life. They're everywhere. As long as they fit within FIFA guidelines, no one's got a problem. Bernie says that he fits within FIFA guidelines, then I don't have a problem with Bernie either, and I'd say good luck to him. I'm not the referee here, FIFA is. If Bernie's breached, or not so much Bernie, but if Leeds or Harry Kewell have breached FIFA regulations, that's for FIFA to decide.
Tell us your understanding of the rule, Chris, before we move on, what it is that you're arguing to FIFA and the English FA.
No, I'm not arguing to FIFA. All I have said is that if there is a breach, if FIFA are going to have regulations, FIFA must regulate. Otherwise, there shouldn't be regulations. I mean, why should we all go out and pay our professional indemnity insurance, do our exams, which Bernie did quite well at, as we all know? I mean, why should we go to all this trouble to follow FIFA guidelines if the guidelines don't wash? The situation is, if Bernie communicates with Leeds, that's fine. It's up to FIFA or the English FA to draw a line in the sand as to where Bernie should step out, and a solicitor or a licensed agent or the player or his parent, for example, may step in. It's up for Bernie to decide and look after his client's best interest as to where he should step back, and somebody recognised by FIFA should step in. And that's Bernie's call, and that's Harry's call. And if FIFA decide that they've made a wrong call, well, it's no one else's fault but their own.
Bernie, it's quite clear that you're amused by all of this, but as Harry's commercial manager, as you call yourself, or representative, how far can you go in negotiating deals for not only Harry but other players in that framework?
Look, I can act as an advisor to anybody I please, and there is nothing in the FIFA regulations that prohibits anyone acting as an advisor, whether it's to a player, whether it's to an agent, whether it's to a solicitor. And the other thing that Leeds has stressed a number of times is that that's what my role was. The fact that Harry refers to me as his agent, the explanation to that is real simple. And obviously Mr. Tanner and company don't particularly follow world football, especially English football, where a manager is referred to as someone like Gerard Houllier or Arsene Wenger. Therefore, the easiest way to differentiate is by a player to say that this is my agent. Because what's he going to do? Say, this is actually my commercial agent, and by the technical letter of the law, I also do have a FIFA agent, and when necessary I have a solicitor and various other nonsense. I mean, these guys have not bothered to even make an inquiry with Leeds or Liverpool. They've taken it upon themselves. And I do stress Lou Sticker because he's the guy behind this nonsensical Australian Licensed Players Association. I mean, these guys have this massive membership of, a dozen-odd people or something like that. They've decided to use Harry Kewell's image basically to further their own organisation, their own needs and wants to be recognised around the world as the people who bought Harry Kewell and Bernie Mandic to heel. Guess what, fellas? No, you haven't. No laws have been busted. Why you couldn't bother to call Leeds and Liverpool and actually make an inquiry, and why you didn't follow FIFA regulations and actually have one of the parties lodge a complaint, because a body that's not even recognised by FIFA will not get anywhere, and an agent making a complaint that's not involved in a deal will not get anywhere. So it's all been a storm in the teacup for self-publicity reasons. Well done, Mr. Tanner. Well done, Lou Sticker and company. I noticed Lou's run for cover and told everybody within earshot that he had nothing to do with it. It's nonsense. He has. And I'm sure that the players, as represented by these two clowns, will well and truly be thrilled to bits what powerful individuals represent them and what sort of fantastic deals they're going to do for their players in the future. Great work, guys. Well done.
Okay, Bernie, I just want to bring Craig Foster in here. Craig, using your experience, I mean, you've been involved in moves abroad previously. There's a lot of focus these days on player agents being licensed by FIFA. As a policy, do you think it's the right one?
I believe that it is, simply because, in the last decade or so, the industry has got a little bit out of control. I think we've seen that here, cattle sales with young kids and so on. Having said that, I think the FIFA rule rightly states that a FIFA licensed agent has to be involved in a deal. Now, the question, as Chris Tanner raised there earlier, is where is that line crossed, and that I simply don't know. I think a player these days needs a team of advisors around him. There's no doubt about that. He needs legal advisors. He needs a licensed agent. He needs, as Bernie says, commercial manager for his sponsorships and all those various things. And it would seem to me that in this situation, those there's been a licensed player's agent involved, which I believe is Bernie Mandic's brother, and also Bernie as the commercial manager. So the question becomes to me simply, where does that line become crossed? At what point, what part in negotiations is Bernie supposed to take part in?
Okay, well, Bernie, it's obvious here that there's a lot of commotion about you being a non-licensed FIFA player agent. We hear that you had failed an exam previously. Do you think, A, that you are now willing to take that exam again? Are you concerned about this?
No, mate, not at all. And the history that suggests that, people that have been successful at different things they've done have actually failed at things. I mean, no less a person than General Patton, who I'm sure even Chris Tanner would agree is a pretty impressive general, failed various exams at West Point and actually finished bottom of the class. I don't mind being in that sort of company like Mr. Patton. I'd rather be there than in the company of Mr. Tanner. I mean, a FIFA exam, so what? At the end of the day, my job is simply to negotiate the best possible commercial deals for my client. But the deals nowadays for a professional player like Harry actually overlap, and it is imperative that there is someone there that makes sure that his club commitments do not overlap with his sponsorship commitments. As we've seen with other players apart from Harry, their income from sponsorship is quite often greater than their income from club football. And it is very, very important that those various aspects work properly. Most people in Australia do not have clients of Harry Kewell's calibre. Therefore, they wouldn't have a clue what goes into that deal. There's a financial advisor involved. There's a team of lawyers, not one lawyer. There is a FIFA agent when necessary. But what's a player need a FIFA agent for anyway? Very simple. Every few years, a contract is negotiated with a club. And if you do that contract properly, you actually don't need another agent until that contract is either terminated or is extended or there's a problem with it. But if it's done properly, there is no problem with it. It's quite self-explanatory. It's not brain surgery. So, the bottom line is you can go on with life without any agent whatsoever, apart from one that signs off on your actual contract from time to time or on a dispute with a club regarding a contract. And you can actually have a lawyer do that anyway. So this claptrap about, you got to be a licensed FIFA agent. Bottom line is this. I have been operating as an unlicensed agent and will continue to do so, and I've been doing it for 10 years. All the players that I've represented for 5 years or more are millionaires. Now, that is the measure of my job for my players. There is only one player that I've actually lost in this whole period, and that's Mr. Viduka, and the reasons for that are quite well documented. So, at the end of the day, I couldn't give a toss what a Mr. Tanner or his all-powerful ALP, whatever the hell they call themselves, want. I will not adhere to their regulations, neither will Harry, and basically they're a body that's not even recognised by Soccer Australia. So, big deal.
Bernie, it's Fozzie here. Can I just ask you then, I think for a lot of viewers and people in the game out here, where exactly do we stand right at this point in time? Is there an investigation? Is there likely to be an investigation? Is that from FIFA, the FA? What exactly is the situation right now?
The FA has basically palmed this off over to FIFA because their attitude is we simply don't want to know. And if there was something that was strange about this deal, they would be all over it. Leeds, on their own website, has on 2 occasions now said that they do not have a problem in any way, shape or form about the way the whole thing was transacted. They have a problem about how much money they got. Fair enough. We all want more money. But that's the only issue they had. And as late as yesterday, they've once again issued a statement saying that they do not have a problem with the conduct of Harry Kewell's advisor, which I guess means me. Now, if somebody would have bothered to pick up a telephone and speak to either Leeds or Liverpool, it would have been quite apparent where the state of play was, who had done what and why. Now, in the world of commercial football, people don't disclose confidential information. What appeared on the league's website, which is what the guys there in Australia seem to have run with, is something that leagues obviously try to put out there for their own PR purposes. So Mr. Tanner and company have taken it upon themselves to get this information and run with it, as I said, for self-publicity reasons. And that's a damn shame.
Chris, if I could just cut in there for a moment. Bernie, Chris, what are your thoughts? And having heard a lot of these comments, really, it does seem like maybe a storm in a teacup, or does it? Are you confident that your argument to the FA does have a ground there for some sort of investigation?
Look, first of all, Andrew, for a minute there I thought we were on the Bernie Mandic show. Look, Craig Foster's 100% right. It's where do FIFA draw the line in the sand? I've said it before, you know, Bernie's comments are so far off the mark, similar to his exam questions. The situation is quite clear, right? FIFA have regulations. I would like to see FIFA regulate, as would many other agents here and agents in England who approach me. What do I know about Bernie Mandic? I don't have a problem with unlicensed agents if they fit within the FIFA guidelines. I've made it quite clear. Bernie himself said, or he has been quoted, and maybe he can say that he might have been misquoted. But Bernie has said that Leeds United are the ones who are in breach because they are the ones who dealt with the unlicensed agent. Now, if Bernie said that, if he said that, and he's accusing Leeds of being guilty, well, he's also saying that Harry Kewell's guilty, unless Harry Kewell didn't know he was talking to Leeds. Now, with that in mind, I'd be worried about Harry Kewell if I was an Australian soccer fan, because maybe he's not getting good advice.
So why do you think it's better than to be a FIFA player agent officially, as opposed to someone like Bernie, who obviously has been very successful in his dealings previously with players?
Absolutely. Look, Bernie's done a wonderful job for his clients. No one's denying that. What I'm saying is, if Bernie steps over those FIFA guidelines, well, then all of a sudden Bernie is not doing a good job for his clients. Unlicensed agents are a part of life. We're all used to them. And if they work within FIFA guidelines, it's not a problem. But the thing is, as I say to people, we can't rule them out. But the thing is, we can educate players and clubs as to the benefits of dealing with licensed agents rather than unlicensed agents. I mean, you know, if I have a problem, I can go to Soccer Australia. If Bernie has a problem, he might find it a little harder. Okay. And by the way, Bernie, ALPA, the Player Agents Association, is now recognised by Soccer Australia and the PFA.
Okay, look, just in closing, because we're almost running out of time here, Bernie, there is also another question pending about lawsuits and comments that turned up in the media and other areas there. How far are you prepared to go? What does Harry want to do about those now?
Oh, they're going to be pursued, don't worry about that. And it's interesting that since we've actually informed the various parties of that, everyone's gone to ground and shut their traps. With regards to Leeds actually, or me stating that Leeds are guilty, all I've said is that the only possible party that can be in breach by what Mr Tanner has lodged is Leeds. And that's if they were found to be in breach, which they are not in breach. That's the whole point of the matter. Nobody has bothered to actually... Sorry?
FIFA have told you that they're not in breach? FIFA have said they're not in breach, or that's just your assumption?
No.
Because we know how up-to-date you are with FIFA regulations. You do not know what went on between Leeds and myself. At the end of the day, absolutely,
there's a letter there which you've actually you've quoted from a letter that appeared on the site, which quite clearly indicates what the payment was for. It has nothing to do with Harry Kewell and the negotiations between Leeds, Harry and myself. There was no negotiations by me regarding Harry.
That's fine. Let's hope so for Harry's case, Bernie.
Oh, let's hope so, yeah. Let's hope that Harry gets banned and Chris Tanner can take good credit for banning Harry Kewell for 12 months. That's the only person you know that the only person that can get damaged by this is Harry Kewell. Nobody else.
Well, hang on a minute. You said Leeds were guilty. You just said Leeds. You're contradicting yourself, Bernie. You just said Leeds were guilty. Well, now you're telling me that Harry could get in trouble. What are you saying? Do you know what you're talking about?
I have not said that Leeds are guilty. They may be guilty.
You just said that Leeds may be in breach.
That is the only party that may be in breach. What I'm saying, view is...
Well, how can they be in breach and
done...
Harry not be in breach? How can they be in breach? Did you talk to them without Harry's permission? Is that what you're saying?
What are you talking about?
Excuse me, if I could interrupt for a moment, gentlemen, please, because we're not getting anywhere. Could I please give one of you the time to respond? But we're running out of time here. Bernie, the question was to you before that. Could you just wrap it up here?
My battery is going to go, so let me just sum up. The bottom line is that the only target in this has been Harry Kuehl, nobody else. And the only target, if there is a case to be answered, is that Harry Kuehl would be banned for 12 months thanks to the inquiry of Mr. Tanner and Company.
Bernie?
And that would be such a high-profile situation.
You're prejudging the inquiry now, Bernie. What are you on the FIFA? You're on the FIFA Executive Committee now, Bernie, eh?
That is the only thing that you have been trying to seek. You can't touch me. You cannot touch me in any way, shape or form. Of course we can't. That's exactly the point.
What a damn shame. The point, Bernie.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt here. I'm sorry. Chris and Bernie, I have to interrupt here. I'm sorry. Chris, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say something, Chris, in a moment. Bernie, I'll have to leave it there with you, but thank you because, as you say, you're running out of battery power for your mobile. Thank you for joining us and getting up in the early hours there. And we'll be talking to you, hopefully, in the future if this story continues. Okay.
It ain't going anywhere.
Okay, thank you, Bernie. All right, just any final remarks from you, Chris, before we wrap it up?
Look, that's exactly the point, Andrew. No one can touch Bernie, right? If Bernie says Leeds are guilty, how can he say Leeds are guilty and Harry is not guilty? Did he go to Leeds without Harry's permission? I don't think so. There's a letter here. It's on the Leeds website. Everyone's seen it. And it's negotiations between Bernie Mandic and the club. Now, if FIFA say it's cool, we're all happy. The main problem is we want FIFA to look at it. Because if they don't look at it, then what's the point of having FIFA regulations? That's where the initial issue lies. But now Bernie's trying to say that Leeds are in breach. His brother says, I dealt with Liverpool, but Bernie dealt with Leeds. All right? If Leeds are in breach, well then I'm a little bit concerned, as should Frank Farina and anyone else that supports Australian soccer, I'm a little bit concerned that Harry's in danger from the point of view of potential FIFA disciplinary action. However, I really would hope, and I wouldn't think, that a young bloke that may have been poorly advised would get suspended. He might get fined. He might even get a rap over the knuckles by way of a censure. And if you have a look at the FIFA regulations, that's what's there. I don't have a problem with unlicensed agents. They're allowed to exist as long as they follow FIFA guidelines. It's up to FIFA or the FA to decide whether Harry, Bernie, Leeds and co have done that.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much for your input today. Of course, we'll be following this story closely, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Craig.
Okay, so there you have it, Craig, a bit of a boxing match there.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought we were talking football.
Well, it's big issues involved, big money involved, big egos involved, and I guess, all that, so it certainly seems likely to run and run. But look, both have got arguments there. I think it's going to be interesting to everyone to see how this pans out and what FIFA do with it.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on now because it's time for this week's feature match, and it takes us to Istanbul for the Euro 2004 qualifier between Turkey